Say it honestly. Do you still need me? Jimin's tears made Jungkook lose control, loudly crying, face fire, growing heart, don't lie to me. Jungkook, say it honestly. Do you still need me? The words ripped through the dim backstage corridor just as the thunder of the crowd faded behind the heavy metal door. Jimin's voice cracked, trembling, barely holding itself together. His chest rose and fell too quickly, as though the air itself had betrayed him. And in the blue emergency light, Jungkook froze mid-stride, sweat cooling on his skin, heartbeat slamming into silence. Jimin's tears clung to his lashes like fragile glass. Jungkook felt something inside him snap. The hallway smelled of dust and fading smoke effects from the encore stage. A fluorescent light flickered above them, humming like a warning. The world felt too narrow, as if reality itself held its breath to see what he would do next. He took one step toward Jimin, then another, until he could feel the shaking warmth radiating from his body. Jimin flinched, not from fear, but from the weight of everything he'd held in for too long. Jungkook's voice dropped, low and stunned. Why are you asking me that now? Jimin looked up, searching his face with eyes full of storms. Because you kept avoiding me. Because every time I tried to talk to you, you left. Because you changed. His shoulders trembled. I don't know what I am to you anymore. Those words cut deeper than any blade. Jungkook swallowed hard. The truth, his truth, had been suffocating him for months. The pressure. The expectations. The silent fear he could never voice. And the worst part, the distance he'd created to protect himself had only carved deeper wounds in the person he least wanted to hurt. Jimin, Jungkook whispered, voice tight, I didn't leave because I didn't need you. I left because I needed you too much. Jimin's breath hitched, painfully soft. The raw honesty between them vibrated like a struck chord. Jungkook reached out slowly, fingers brushing Jimin's cheek, wiping away a tear before it could fall. The warmth of that single touch nearly unmade both of them. I thought, Jimin whispered, eyes closing, I thought I was losing you. No, Jungkook said, shaking his head, jaw clenched with everything he had never said aloud. You're the only thing I was terrified of losing. Jimin's lips parted, trembling with relief and disbelief and something that felt dangerously close to hope. Silence wrapped around them, heavy, charged, intimate, broken only by the distant thrum of equipment being packed up on the other side of the wall. But here, in this narrow corridor glowing with faint blue light, the world held only two people and the truth between their ribcages. Jungkook stepped even closer. Jimin didn't pull away. Look at me, Jungkook murmured. Jimin opened his eyes, and for the first time in months, Jungkook didn't hide. Didn't run. Didn't bury everything behind perfect smiles and rehearsed composure. His gaze was fierce, vulnerable, and completely unguarded. I still need you, he said. More than I know how to handle. More than I can control. Jimin's breath trembled out of him like a release. His hand rose, almost involuntarily, fingers brushing Jungkook's wrist, hesitant, unsure. Jungkook caught it gently, holding it as though it were the anchor that had kept him sane all along. Then Jimin leaned forward, forehead pressing against Jungkook's shoulder, body shuddering with quiet, overwhelmed relief. Jungkook wrapped an arm around him, pulling him close. The embrace wasn't dramatic or perfect, it was messy, aching, real. Don't leave me again, Jimin whispered into the fabric of Jungkook's jacket. Not like that. Not without telling me what's going on inside you. Jungkook closed his eyes, exhaling a truth he'd kept locked away. I won't, he said. I'm done running. The tension in Jimin's posture finally loosened, just slightly, like a tightly wound string beginning to give, no longer on the verge of snapping. Jungkook's thumb brushed the back of his hand, grounding himself for a long moment. They just stood there, two hearts learning how to beat in the same space again. And when Jimin finally lifted his head, eyes still shimmering but stronger now, Jungkook met his gaze with a steadiness that hadn't been there before. A promise, unspoken yet unmistakably clear. Whatever storms waited beyond that blue-lit corridor, they would face them together. In the quiet aftermath of their unraveling, the beginning of something truer took shape, a fragile, fierce thing built not on perfection, but on honesty and the courage to finally be seen. Jimin didn't let Jungkook go, not even after the trembling warmth of their embrace settled into something quieter. He stepped back only far enough to search Jungkook's face again, eyes full of questions that felt dangerous to ask. You said you won't run anymore, Jimin whispered, voice still unsteady. Then don't run from this conversation either. I need you to hear me. Jungkook's throat tightened. I'm here, he said. Say whatever you need. Jimin inhaled shakily, fingers curling at his sides. Do you know how hard it is to feel you slipping away every time you're hurting? To watch you shut down and pretend everything's fine? His voice rose, thin and sharp, like it hurt him to push the words out. I kept thinking I did something wrong. That I was the reason you didn't want to talk to me. You weren't, Jungkook said quickly, but you didn't tell me that, Jimin shot back. You didn't tell me anything. Jungkook flinched. I didn't want you to see the parts of me I can't control. That's the problem, Jungkook, Jimin said, stepping closer. You think I only want the parts you can control. Jungkook opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't know how to argue with a truth that pierced straight through him. The hallway felt hotter suddenly, the blue emergency light casting deep shadows across Jimin's cheekbones. He looked almost unreal in that moment, fragile and furious at once. What are you really afraid of? Jimin asked. Losing me? Or letting me see you when you're not perfect? Jungkook's breath hitched. Both. Jimin's expression broke open, caught between heartbreak and exasperation. I don't want perfection, he muttered. I just want you. The real you. Even the messy parts. Especially the messy parts. The words hit Jungkook so hard he had to steady himself against the wall. Jimin watched him, breath shallow, eyes burning. If you want me in your life, you can't shut me out every time something scares you. Jungkook's voice lowered to a rasp. Something? Jimin, everything scares me when it comes to you. Jimin blinked, stunned. What do you mean? Jungkook exhaled shakily, running a hand through his hair. You don't understand what you do to me. How easily you can break me without even trying. He dragged his gaze back to Jimin's. And that terrifies me. The silence that followed was thick and electric. Jimin took one slow step toward him, then another, until Jungkook felt the heat of him again. His voice softened, trembling with the weight of something fragile. Then let me in. Let me carry some of it. You don't have to handle all that alone. Jungkook's jaw clenched. I don't want to drag you into my chaos. I'm already in it, Jimin whispered. I've been in it for a long time. Their breaths mingled in the narrow space between them. Jungkook became hyper-aware of every detail, the faint tremble in Jimin's fingers, the way his chest rose and fell too quickly, the slight quiver in his lower lip. Jimin looked like he was fighting the urge to either scream or collapse. Tell me something, Jimin said suddenly. The truth. Not the polished version, not the safe version. His voice cracked again. When you pulled away from me these last weeks, was it because of what happened that night? Jungkook stiffened. Jimin saw it immediately. So it was about that. His eyes widened, hurt flaring across his face. You're still thinking about it. How could I not? Jungkook whispered. That was months ago, Jimin insisted, almost pleading. We said we'd forget it. We agreed it didn't mean anything. You said that, Jungkook corrected softly. I didn't. Jimin froze, and then Jungkook added, voice barely above a breath, it meant everything, Jimin. That's the problem. The air left Jimin's lungs all at once, like he'd been punched. His hands trembled violently now, and he pressed them against Jungkook's chest as if trying to steady himself, fingers curling into the fabric. Jungkook caught his wrists gently but didn't push him away. You're lying, Jimin whispered. You're saying that now because you think I want to hear it. If I wanted to tell you what you wanted to hear, I would have said it that night, Jungkook murmured. Jimin shook his head, overwhelmed. That night was a mistake. We were exhausted, stressed, confused. Then why do you look at me like this every time I get close? Jungkook asked, leaning in just enough that their foreheads nearly touched. Jimin's breath shattered. I don't, he whispered, weak. You do, Jungkook said, voice deepening. You always have. Jimin's lashes fluttered, his body trembling with a mixture of fear and longing he could no longer hide. Stop. Don't do this to me unless you mean it. I mean every word, Jungkook said. I always have. The tension snapped like a live wire. Jimin surged forward, not to kiss him, not to embrace him, but to shove him lightly against the wall, palms pressed to Jungkook's chest, faces inches apart. Then why did you act like nothing happened? Jimin demanded. Why did you pretend you were fine while I was losing sleep every night thinking I imagined everything? Because, Jungkook hissed through clenched teeth, if I acknowledged what I felt that night, I wouldn't have been able to stop myself from wanting more. Jimin's fingers tightened around the fabric of Jungkook's shirt. His voice dropped to a whisper that trembled with raw honesty. And what exactly do you want more of? Jungkook stared into his eyes with a vulnerability that shook him to the core. You. Jimin swallowed hard, stunned into silence. The world around them seemed to dissolve, the hum of equipment, the muffled voices, the cold walls. Everything blurred except the two of them pressed close in the dim corridor, breaths uneven, hearts racing, truths exposed like open wounds. Jimin's voice finally returned, softer, almost breaking. Then don't ever disappear like that again. If you need me, then stay. Even when it's messy. Even when it scares you. Jungkook lifted one trembling hand to Jimin's jaw, thumb brushing the warmth of his skin. Then promise me something too. What? Jimin breathed. Don't run from me when I tell you the rest of the truth. Jimin's heartbeat stumbled. There's more. There's always been more, Jungkook whispered. Jimin's voice cracked. Then tell me. I will, Jungkook said. But not here. Not like this. Jimin's gaze softened with fear and anticipation. Then when? Jungkook took his hand, gently, deliberately, intertwining their fingers as if sealing a vow. Tonight. Just us. Jimin exhaled shakily, and for the first time since everything began unraveling, a flicker of something steady hope, dangerous hope appeared in his eyes. Okay, he whispered. They didn't let go of each other's hands as they walked out of the corridor, each step pulling them deeper into a night that would change everything they thought they knew about themselves. A night where truths long buried would finally be spoken. A night neither of them was ready for, but both needed more than they could admit. The car ride was too quiet. The city outside flashed with neon signs and wet pavement, but inside the tinted vehicle, the air felt thick, charged, fragile, and on the edge of something neither of them could pull back from. Jimin sat beside Jungkook, their knees brushing every time the car hit a bump. Neither moved away. Neither spoke. Their linked hands rested between them, fingers tense, knuckles white. Jungkook could feel Jimin's heartbeat pulsing through his palm when the car finally stopped in the underground parking lot of Jungkook's apartment building. Jimin didn't move immediately. His breath came out slow, shaky, fogging the darkness. Are you sure about this? He whispered. No, Jungkook answered honestly. But I'm more afraid of staying silent. They stepped out together. The echo of their footsteps in the empty concrete garage felt too loud, like the world warning them that whatever happened next would be impossible to undo. Jungkook unlocked the elevator, and Jimin followed him in, leaning back against the mirrored wall. His reflection looked as tense as he felt, eyes sharp, lips slightly parted, chest rising too fast. Jungkook pressed the button for the top floor. The elevator hummed upward, and with every passing second, the space between them grew hotter, messier, more suffocating. Jimin finally broke. Jungkook, tell me the truth now. I don't want to walk into your place blind. Jungkook turned slowly, meeting his eyes. The dim elevator lights carved shadows across his jaw, making the vulnerability on his face look even more painfully real. You won't like the truth if I say it here, Jungkook said, voice low, rough. It'll come out wrong. Too desperate. Too, everything. Then tell me wrong, Jimin said, breath trembling. I'm tired of waiting. Jungkook exhaled shakily and stepped closer until Jimin had nowhere left to escape. The mirror behind him was cold against his back. Jungkook's warmth swallowed the front of him. My truth, Jungkook whispered, is that the night you called a mistake. I think about it every time I close my eyes. Every single time. Jimin's fingers sank into Jungkook's jacket. Jungkook, and every time I tried to forget it, he continued, it hurt so much that I pulled away. I didn't distance myself because I didn't care. I distanced myself because caring this much felt unbearable. Jimin swallowed, throat dry. You think you were the only one who felt that way? The elevator dinged at the top floor, but neither of them moved. Let's go inside, Jungkook said, voice barely steady. The apartment was dim, quiet, faintly smelling of cedar and the trace of incense Jungkook used when he couldn't sleep. Jimin stepped inside, feeling like the walls themselves were listening. Jungkook closed the door behind them with a soft click that echoed too loudly. Jimin walked deeper into the living room, stopping near the large window overlooking the city. The lights below looked like burning stars. Reflections shimmering against the glass. Jungkook stayed by the door for a long moment, watching him, unsure how to step into a truth that big. Jimin spoke first, without turning around. "You said there's more." "There is." "Then tell me," he whispered. "Please." Jungkook approached him slowly, like coming too fast would shatter the fragile moment holding them together. When he finally stood behind Jimin, the heat of him seeped through the thin fabric of Jimin's clothes. Jimin's reflection showed how tense he was, jaw locked, eyes bright with unspoken fear and longing. Jungkook lifted a hand, hesitated, then rested it lightly on Jimin's shoulder. Jimin sucked in a breath like the touch had set him on fire. "The reason I avoided you," Jungkook murmured, "was because I couldn't trust myself. Every time you looked at me, I wanted to cross a line we can't uncross." Jimin clenched his fists against the glass. "You already crossed it that night," he whispered. "We both did. That wasn't the line I'm talking about." Jimin turned sharply, staring at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. "Then what line?" Jungkook's voice deepened, trembling with raw honesty. "The line where I stop pretending I only see you as someone I should protect. As someone I should be strong for. As someone I should be careful with." Jimin's breath stilled. "And start seeing you," Jungkook continued, "as someone I want. Completely. In ways I've tried to deny for too long." Jimin's pulse thundered so loudly he thought Jungkook could hear it. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Jimin whispered. "Because," Jungkook said, stepping closer, "I didn't know if you felt the same. And if I misread you, if I ruined everything between us, I wouldn't have survived it." Jimin closed his eyes, overwhelmed. "You didn't misread me," he murmured. Jungkook froze. Jimin reached out, fingers brushing Jungkook's jaw, hesitant but full of emotion that shook both of them. "I kept pretending that night didn't mean anything because I was scared. Scared of what it made me realize." "And what did it make you realize?" Jungkook asked, voice barely audible. "That losing you," Jimin whispered, "would destroy me." Something fierce and painful flashed across Jungkook's face. "Then why did you call it a mistake?" "Because I didn't want you to regret it," Jimin said. "I didn't want to be the reason your life got harder, or messier. Or you already are," Jungkook said, stepping so close Jimin felt every breath. "But I don't care. It's worth it. You're worth it." Jimin's eyes glistened, his voice cracking. "You're gonna ruin me." "I already am," Jungkook whispered. "And you're ruining me right back." The silence between them turned heavy, burning, intimate, uncontrollable. Jimin's hand was trembling against Jungkook's jaw, but he didn't pull away. Jungkook leaned into the touch, breath unsteady, eyes dark with everything he'd kept buried inside him. "Jungkook," Jimin whispered. "What?" "If we say these things tonight," he said softly, "we can't take them back tomorrow." "I don't want to," Jungkook replied. "I'm tired of pretending I don't feel everything I feel for you." Jimin let out a shaky exhale. "Then tell me one thing. One thing you never said. Not even to yourself." Jungkook hesitated only a second, then he whispered, raw and devastating, "I think I've needed you long before I realized I did." Jimin's breath faltered. "And I'm done lying about it." Jimin didn't step back. He didn't hide. He didn't soften the truth. He reached up, grabbed the collar of Jungkook's jacket with trembling fingers, and pulled him close, not enough to erase the distance, but enough to make Jungkook feel the heat of his breath. "Then don't deny what you want anymore," Jimin whispered. "Don't deny me." Jungkook's heartbeat roared so loudly it drowned out the city outside, the room around them, everything except the two of them standing chest to chest in the dark. The truth was finally out, and nothing would be the same. Jungkook didn't breathe for a moment. Jimin's fingers were still curled in the collar of his jacket, knuckles trembling, breath ghosting across Jungkook's lips like a dare neither of them had the stability to handle. The room felt too small for the heat between them, too quiet for the storm building inside their chests. Jungkook lifted a hand to Jimin's wrist, thumb brushing the hammering pulse beneath his skin. "Jimin," he whispered, "you don't know what you're asking." "I know exactly what I'm asking." Jimin's voice shook, but his gaze was unwavering. "I'm asking you to stop running. I'm asking you to stop lying to me and yourself." Jungkook swallowed hard. "And what if the truth ruins us?" It won't, Jimin said, stepping closer. What ruins us is silence. Jungkook's resolve cracked. He pulled in a slow, uneven breath and let his forehead drop to Jimin's, their breaths mingling in a heat that made both of them tremble. Jimin closed his eyes at the contact, his body softening for just a second, just enough for his guard to slip, but Jungkook saw it all, the fear, the longing, the exhaustion of pretending not to feel the earthquake shaking him from the inside. I'm scared, Jungkook admitted. I know, Jimin whispered. I am too. Jungkook sighed, the sound heavy with months of unsaid things. Every time you get close, it feels like my whole world tilts. I don't know how to handle that. Then don't handle it, Jimin murmured. Just feel it. Something in Jungkook snapped in that moment, not in anger, but in surrender. He grabbed Jimin's hand and pulled him toward the couch, not roughly, but with a kind of desperation he couldn't hold back anymore. Jimin stumbled slightly but followed without hesitation, without resistance. Jungkook sat first, tugging Jimin gently until he found himself sitting beside him, their knees touching. The air between them pulsed with tension, but now there was something else, an unspoken readiness, like both of them had been waiting months for this exact moment. Jimin looked at Jungkook's hands, noticing the way they shook. Tell me what's going on in your head, he whispered. All of it. Even the messy parts. You really want messy? Jungkook asked with a humorless breath. I want real. Jungkook stared at him for a long, heavy moment. Then he exhaled and leaned back slightly, his eyes never leaving Jimin's. The night you called a mistake, Jungkook started slowly. I didn't sleep at all. I kept replaying every second of it. The way you looked at me. The way you said my name. His jaw tightened. The way you touched me. Jimin flinched, the memories hitting him just as hard, just as vividly. Jungkook continued, voice dropping even lower. I kept telling myself that I imagined it, that you didn't feel the same. You're always so careful, so controlled. I thought you regretted it the moment it happened. Jimin swallowed hard. I didn't regret it. You said it was a mistake. Jimin looked down at their intertwined fingers. I said that because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Jimin took a breath so unsteady it almost broke. Afraid that you only wanted me in that moment. Afraid that you'd wake up the next day and realize it didn't mean anything to you. Jimin, Jungkook said, shifting closer, I've never wanted something so much in my life. The problem wasn't wanting it. He hesitated, eyes flickering with vulnerability. The problem was wanting it too much. Jimin felt those words down to his bones. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to protect you, Jungkook said. From me. From this. Jimin looked up sharply. I don't need protection from you. I need honesty. Jungkook reached up, cupping the side of Jimin's neck with trembling fingers. What if the honesty is that I don't know how to want you quietly? What if the truth is that I don't want to hold myself back anymore? Jimin's breath caught. Then don't. Jungkook's eyes darkened, not with anger, but with something rawer, deeper, frightening in its intensity. You're saying that now, but once I tell you everything, you might change your mind. Jimin's voice dropped to a whisper. I won't. Jungkook hesitated, eyes flickering across Jimin's face, tracing every line like he was trying to memorize him before everything changed. There's something I need to tell you, Jungkook said, voice low, almost shaking. Something I've been hiding from everyone. Even from you. Jimin straightened. What is it? Jungkook looked down at their hands interlocked, shaking, too warm. I didn't distance myself because of you, he said. I distanced myself because I was falling apart, and I didn't want you to see me like that. Jimin's expression softened instantly. Jungkook, I was close to breaking, Jungkook admitted. Everything was too much, the pressure, the expectations, the fear that I was losing control of everything inside me. His voice cracked. And the only place I still felt like myself was when you were near me. Jimin didn't speak, didn't breathe, but that scared me even more, Jungkook continued. Because if you ever walked away, I don't know what would be left of me. Jimin grabbed his hand tightly, fiercely. I'm not walking away. You can't promise that, Jungkook said. People leave. People change. I'm not people, Jimin said, voice trembling with conviction. I'm me. And I'm right here. Jungkook shook his head helplessly. You don't know everything yet. Then tell me, Jimin insisted. Whatever it is, I can handle it. Jungkook finally lifted his gaze, eyes glassy with unshed emotion. The truth is, the reason I couldn't look at you without running is because I knew. Knew what? That I'd fall for you completely if I didn't. Jimin froze, his breath left him. His grip on Jungkook's hand tightened so much it almost hurt. Jungkook, he whispered, voice breaking, you think you're the only one who's been falling? Jungkook blinked, stunned. You, what? Jimin leaned in, their foreheads touching again, but this time the contact was softer, desperate, vulnerable, honest. I didn't run because I didn't care, he whispered. I ran because I cared too much. I was terrified of how badly I wanted you. Jungkook's chest rose sharply, like the air had punched him. The distance between them dissolved as if neither had the strength to keep it anymore. Jungkook slid a hand around Jimin's waist, pulling him in. Jimin exhaled shakily, resting both hands against Jungkook's chest, feeling the tremor in his heartbeat. Their breathing synced, shallow, fast, trembling with the weight of everything they just unburied. No more running, Jimin whispered. No more pretending, Jungkook answered. The storm between them quieted into something deeper, more dangerous than chaos, something painfully real. They stayed there like that, foreheads pressed, hands tangled, hearts pounding, not because they were afraid, but because they finally understood they had been afraid of the wrong thing all along, not of wanting each other but of admitting it. And now that the truth was out, neither could imagine going back. The studio lights flickered as if they sensed the tension before the room did. Jungkook didn't move at first, he stayed frozen, staring at Taehyung as though the words he just heard couldn't possibly be real. The air between them was sharp, electric, heavy with whatever truth Taehyung had dragged into the open without warning. Taehyung took a slow step closer, his voice low but edged like a blade. You keep pretending nothing's wrong, Jungkook. You keep acting like you're fine. But I see you. I see everything. Jungkook's jaw clenched, but he didn't look away. You don't know what you think you know. Oh, I do, Taehyung shot back, eyes burning. And so does Jimin. That name hit hard. Jimin, who was standing by the door, gripping the handle so tightly his knuckles were white. He hadn't planned on speaking, but the moment Taehyung dragged him into the storm, his breath hitched. Don't, Jimin warned softly, voice trembling. Taehyung, don't use me for your fight. But Taehyung didn't stop. He deserves to hear it. He deserves the truth. You can't keep covering for him forever. Jungkook's voice cracked as he snapped, Tae, enough. But Taehyung wasn't here to stop. He walked straight past Jungkook and stood in front of Jimin, so close their breaths tangled in the tight, suffocating air. Tell him, Taehyung whispered. Tell him what you told me last night. Jimin's eyes widened, panic surging through him like lightning. Taehyung, I swear, if you'd tell him, Taehyung repeated, softer now, almost begging. Please. Jungkook's heartbeat hammered like a war drum. What did he tell you? Silence. Then Jimin inhaled shakily, eyes glossy, voice barely a thread. I told him. I'm scared for you. Jungkook blinked, thrown. Scared, of me? No, Jimin whispered. For you. Because you've been breaking and pretending you're fine. Because you disappear at night. Because you're not sleeping. Because you walk around like you're haunted by something you won't talk about. Jungkook's chest tightened so suddenly he had to take a step back to breathe. You shouldn't have said that, he muttered, voice trembling with anger and pain all at once. Taehyung's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. Why? Because it's true. Jungkook glared at him. You think you're helping? You're pushing where you shouldn't push. And you're hiding something that's eating you alive, Taehyung fired back. I'm not stupid, Jungkook. I know what you've been doing. Jungkook's eyes darkened. You know nothing. Then explain, Taehyung challenged. Explain why you were at the company building alone at 3 a.m. Explain why you deleted your messages. Explain why you've been ignoring calls from Tae. Stop, Jimin hissed, grabbing his arm, but Taehyung didn't stop. He turned, fury and worry twisting inside his voice. Explain why you came home shaking. Why you wouldn't look us in the eyes. Why you, because I'm scared too. Jungkook finally shouted, the confession ripping out of him like something he'd held in for years. The room went dead silent. Jungkook's voice cracked as he continued, softer now, shoulders shaking. I'm scared. I didn't want to drag you into it. I didn't want you to worry. I didn't want you to see me like this. Jimin took a fragile step toward him. See you like what, Jungkook? Jungkook swallowed hard, eyes shining. Like someone who doesn't have the answers. Someone who's lost. Taehyung's anger melted, replaced by something raw and painful. Then why didn't you just tell us? Because you always look at me like I'm strong, Jungkook whispered. Like I'm unshakable. Like nothing gets to me. But something did. And I don't know how to fix it. Jimin reached him first, gently placing a trembling hand on Jungkook's cheek. You don't have to fix it alone. Taehyung stepped closer, voice softer than it had been all night. Whatever truth you're hiding, we can handle it. Together. Jungkook looked between them, two people who knew him better than he knew himself, two people he'd been terrified of disappointing. His voice wavered as he whispered, if I tell you the truth, everything will change. Taehyung leaned in until their foreheads nearly touched. Maybe it needs to. Jimin whispered, we're here. Just say it. Jungkook closed his eyes and finally, he spoke, but the camera outside the hallway clicked on at that exact moment, and someone else was listening, someone who wasn't supposed to hear a single word. The hallway camera blinked alive with a soft mechanical click, but none of them heard it over the sound of Jungkook's shaky breath. He stood between Taehyung and Jimin, both of them waiting, too close, too quiet, their eyes locked on him like he was holding a detonator instead of a confession. Jungkook's voice trembled as he whispered, the truth is, I wasn't supposed to make it out of the building that night. Jimin's breath caught instantly. What do you mean? What happened? Taehyung stepped back just enough to look Jungkook in the eyes. The anger was gone, replaced by a bruised kind of fear. Jungkook. Tell us. Jungkook swallowed hard. Someone was there. Someone followed me inside. They knew where I'd be, what floor I'd go to. They were waiting. Jimin's voice broke into a whisper. Why didn't you tell us? Because they said if I told anyone. Jungkook hesitated, his voice nearly collapsing. They'd come after you too. That single sentence shattered the air. Taehyung grabbed Jungkook's wrist, eyes blazing with a mix of fear and fury. Who? Who threatened you? Jungkook looked away. I don't know. Jimin stepped closer, his voice sharp, almost begging. You must have seen something. A face. A voice. Anything. Jungkook shook his head. Just a message. A distorted voice. A warning. Taehyung let out a harsh breath. So you've been dealing with this alone? Hiding it from us? Letting yourself fall apart because you think we're too weak to handle it? He pushed Jungkook back lightly. Not out of violence, but desperation. Do you have any idea how selfish that is? Jungkook's eyes snapped up in shock. Selfish? Yes, Taehyung hissed. Because you think protecting us means shutting us out. That's not protection. That's punishment. For all of us. The words hit Jungkook so hard his shoulders slumped. Jimin reached between them, placing his hand on Jungkook's chest. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to collapse in the dark where no one can see you. Let us see you. Let us help. But before Jungkook could answer, footsteps echoed down the hallway, slow, deliberate, too heavy to be a staff member. All three turned, the studio lights dimmed, as if recoiling from the presence approaching. The figure stopped right outside the door. A shadow stretched across the floor, long and unbroken. Jimin's voice quivered. Did you tell anyone else we were here? Jungkook shook his head. Taehyung took a defensive step toward the door. Who's there? A distorted, crackling voice responded from behind the glass. You weren't supposed to talk. Jungkook froze. Jimin grabbed his arm. Is that the door handle twisted with such force the metal screeched? Taehyung lunged forward and slammed his body against the door to stop it from opening. Go. Taehyung shouted. Both of you, back up. Jungkook and Jimin stumbled away as the door shook violently. The voice behind it growled, you should have stayed quiet, Jungkook. Jungkook's hands began to shake uncontrollably. The threat he had been carrying alone, the weight he had been hiding, was suddenly here, real, inches away from ripping the door open. Jimin stood beside Jungkook, gripping his hand so tightly their knuckles pressed white. "We're not leaving you. Not now." The door stopped, rattling silence, then a soft electronic beep sounded overhead. Jungkook's head snapped up. The cameras, someone activated all of them. Screens around the studio flickered on one by one: monitors, stage displays, security feeds, every lens pointing directly at them. Every screen showed the three of them cornered in the small room. Every screen showed Jungkook's fear, and then the distorted voice whispered through the speakers of the entire studio, louder now, "Impossible to ignore. Since you won't stay quiet, the world will hear the truth instead." Taehyung's eyes widened. "They're going to broadcast this." Jimin's grip on Jungkook tightened. "We have to get out. Now." "No," Jungkook whispered, stepping back, panic swallowing his breath. "No, they're watching. They're everywhere." The lights snapped to full brightness, blinding white. All three shielded their eyes, then the studio doors, every door, clicked unlocked at once. An invitation. A trap. Taehyung looked at Jungkook. "Whoever wants you, they're ready to take you now." Jungkook's chest rose and fell rapidly, his voice shaking like something inside him was breaking. "Then you too need to leave. I'm not letting them touch you." Jimin's eyes filled instantly, fierce and bright. "We're not going anywhere without you." Taehyung grabbed Jungkook's chin, forcing him to look up. "If they want you, they go through us." And in that moment, the very second Jungkook felt the faintest flicker of safety, a figure stepped into the doorway. Not a shadow, not a voice. A real person, someone they all recognized, someone none of them ever expected. Jimin gasped first. Taehyung's jaw dropped, Jungkook staggered back like he'd been hit. Because the person standing in the doorframe was the last person Jungkook ever thought would betray him. The moment the figure in the doorway fully stepped into the light, Jungkook felt all the air punch out of his lungs. His heartbeat stalled, then slammed violently against his ribs as his mind struggled to catch up with what his eyes were seeing. It was Yoongi. Not the Yoongi they knew, calm, quiet, slightly amused at the chaos the others caused. This Yoongi's gaze was sharp, unreadable, cold enough to slice through the thick tension choking the room. His dark coat dripped faint rainwater onto the studio floor, and his expression held no warmth, no hesitation, only a strange mix of resolve and something darker. Taehyung's voice cracked first. "Hyung, what are you doing here?" Yoongi didn't answer. His eyes were locked on Jungkook, unmoving, unblinking, as if he'd known exactly where Jungkook would be standing. As if he'd been watching for much longer than just this moment. Jungkook took one involuntary step back. "Hyung, it wasn't you. It couldn't have been you." Yoongi's lips curved, not into a smile, but into something like regret twisted into a warning. "You should have stayed quiet, Jungkook." Jimin grabbed Jungkook's wrist as if anchoring him in place. No, this makes no sense. You're not the one who threatened him." Yoongi slowly raised his hand, not aggressively, but with a subtle command for silence. "Whether I threatened him or not doesn't matter now. What matters is that he talked." Taehyung's breath hitched. "So you admit it? You're part of this?" Yoongi's eyes flicked to Taehyung briefly, just long enough to communicate that he wasn't someone they could predict anymore. "You want the truth? I'm the reason Jungkook made it out of the building alive. If I hadn't intervened, he wouldn't be standing here right now." Jungkook's pulse thundered. "Then why threaten me after saving me? Why warn me not to speak?" "Because silence was the only thing keeping you safe," Yoongi replied softly, almost mournfully. "And now, you've broken that safety." Jimin shook his head violently, tears forming but not falling. "Why would you hide something like this? Why not tell us what's happening? Why not tell us who's after him?" Yoongi's jaw tensed. "Because knowing the truth puts all of you in danger. And because some truths, once spoken, can't be undone." Jungkook's voice cracked. "Hyung, what truth?" Yoongi took a long, slow breath, then stepped deeper into the room, the air tightening with every movement he made. "What happened that night wasn't an accident. It wasn't random. Someone inside the building wanted you gone." Jungkook's legs nearly gave out. "Inside? You mean someone close?" Yoongi said. "Someone with access. Someone with a motive." Taehyung moved protectively in front of Jungkook, fury simmering under his skin. Then why are you acting like the enemy? Why hide behind threats and shadows? Why make him terrified of you? For the first time, Yoongi's mask cracked. Just slightly. But enough, because they're watching everything I do, he whispered. Every step. Every word. If I'm seen helping you, we all go down with him. Jimin's grip on Jungkook tightened. Who are they? Yoongi opened his mouth to answer, but a thunderous echo burst through the studio speakers, drowning out his voice. A new distorted voice, colder, deeper, far more ruthless than the one from before, filled the studio, vibrating through the walls. Enough. All three of them snapped toward the speakers. Even Yoongi flinched, just barely. The voice continued, amusement dripping like poison. Yoongi, you were warned not to interfere again. Yoongi's face drained of color. The voice laughed. And Jungkook, telling your little friends? Very disappointing. Jungkook's breath shattered. What do you want? Why me? Because you saw something you shouldn't have, the voice replied. And you remember more than you think. Jungkook's mind raced back to that night, flashes of broken glass, footsteps, a hand grabbing his shoulder, a metallic scent, the feeling of being watched long before he entered the building. All blurred. All terrifying. Jimin spoke up, voice trembling but defiant. If you want him, you'll have to get through all of us. A slow clap echoed from the speakers. Mocking. Taunting. How touching, the voice said. But none of you realize the most important detail. Silence stretched razor-thin. Then the voice spoke again, this time with chilling clarity. Jungkook isn't the only one we're after. Jimin froze, Taehyung stiffened. Yoongi swore under his breath. Who? Jimin whispered. Who else? A beat. 2 beats, then the voice delivered the blow. One of you already belongs to us. Jimin staggered back, hand covering his mouth. Taehyung shook his head. That's a lie. All of us, none of us, but Yoongi's reaction was different. He closed his eyes. Just for 1 second, and in that second, Jungkook saw everything: fear, guilt, recognition. Yoongi whispered, voice hollow, breaking. I'm so sorry. Taehyung's eyes widened. Hyung, what did you do? Yoongi opened his eyes, and for the first time, they looked truly defeated. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Jungkook stepped forward, voice cracking. Hyung, tell me it's not you. Yoongi swallowed hard. It started with me, he whispered. But I swear. I was trying to stop it. Jimin's knees buckled, and Jungkook caught him just before he collapsed. Taehyung stared at Yoongi in disbelief, voice trembling with anger and heartbreak. You were involved, from the beginning? Before Yoongi could speak, the entire studio went black. Every screen shut off, every light died. The silence was absolute. Then, from the darkness, the distorted voice whispered, not from the speakers this time, but right behind them. You should have never trusted him. And the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, approached through the pitch-black room. The darkness swallowed every trace of the studio, thick and suffocating. Jungkook couldn't see his own hand in front of his face. The air felt electric, buzzing with danger, and every second stretched agonizingly slow. Jimin tightened his grip on Jungkook's arm, trembling but defiant. Taehyung positioned himself slightly ahead of them, breath sharp, ready to move. And Yoongi stood alone, a shadow inside the void he had helped create. The footsteps drew closer, unhurried and confident, each step echoing like a countdown. Jungkook whispered, Hyung, if there's something you need to tell us now. Yoongi's voice was soft, broken. If you hate me after this, I'll accept it. But I need you to listen carefully. Jimin's voice cracked. Then talk. Make it make sense. Yoongi took a single step toward them. I joined them to protect you. All of you. They wanted someone inside, someone close, someone trusted. I thought, if I agreed, I could control what they knew. I thought I could mislead them. His voice trembled. But that night, Jungkook, you weren't supposed to be there. They were targeting someone else. You stumbled into it by accident. Jungkook felt his stomach twist painfully. Who were they targeting? Yoongi hesitated for a long, agonizing second. Me. Taehyung gasped. What? They suspected I'd turned. Yoongi's voice was raw. That I wasn't feeding them real information anymore. They set the whole thing as a test, and you walked into the trap before I could stop you. Jungkook felt dizzy. So you saved me, and they punished you. Yes, Yoongi whispered. By making me choose. Stay loyal to them or watch you all burn. The footsteps stopped only a few meters away. A cold, unfamiliar voice broke the silence. Touching. But your confession changes nothing. A faint red emergency light flickered on overhead, painting the room in blood-colored shadows. And there, stepping into the dim glow, was a man Jungkook had never seen before. Tall, sharp-faced, dressed in black. He looked almost ordinary, except for the calm, terrifying certainty in his eyes. He smiled. Hello, boys. Jungkook's heart pounded. Who are you? Someone who warned you to stay silent. The man glanced toward Yoongi. And someone who is very, very disappointed. Taehyung stepped forward, jaw clenched. You're not taking any of us. I don't care who you think you are. Jimin, though shaking, echoed him. We're not afraid of you. Oh, but you should be, the man said quietly. Because your trust has been misplaced from the start. He turned his gaze to Jungkook. The real reason you were targeted wasn't because of a mistake. He smiled. Slowly. Deliberately. It was because you remembered something you were never meant to see. Jungkook felt his breath hitch. A memory flickered, the flash of a surveillance room he'd passed that night. The open door, the monitors showing not just hallways, but private rooms, private conversations, all secretly recorded. You saw the files, the man said, eyes darkening. You saw everything. Jungkook whispered, horrified. You were spying on us. On everyone, the man corrected. Your group. Your management. Your staff. Your families. Information is power, and you had stumbled upon too much. Taehyung lunged toward him, fury blinding, but Yoongi caught him. No, Yoongi hissed. He wants you to attack. He wants an excuse. The man clicked his tongue. See. Yoongi understands the rules. Jungkook shook with anger. Then why Yoongi? Why force him into this? Because he was the only one smart enough to understand what silence is worth, and what truth can destroy. Jimin's voice broke. You used him. You used all of us. The man sighed. You're entertainers. Puppets. Useful, but replaceable. That broke something inside Jungkook. He stepped forward, voice trembling with anger and something deeper, resolve. You're wrong. The man raised an eyebrow. Am I? Jungkook's voice hardened. You think fear makes us weak. But it doesn't. It makes us fierce. You think silence controls us. But it only fuels us. You think we're replaceable. But look at us, we're still standing. Together. Taehyung moved to Jungkook's right. Jimin to his left. Yoongi behind them, stepping forward, no longer hiding. A united front, the man's smile faltered. Brave. But pointless. Jungkook felt something shift inside him, like a door finally opening. He remembered another flash from that night. A panel. A switch. A manual override. He turned slowly toward the wall. I know how you control the cameras, he whispered. I know how you shut down the power. The man's expression tensed. Jungkook bolted. Jungkook. Jimin shouted, reaching for him, but Jungkook was faster than fear. Faster than the man's outstretched hand. He reached the hidden panel, ripped off the cover, and slammed the emergency shutdown switch. The entire building reacted at once. Lights exploded into brightness, alarms blared, every screen rebooted, doors locked. The man spun around in shock. What have you done? Jungkook breathed hard, chest heaving. I ended it. Yoongi grabbed the man, pinning his arms. It's over. Taehyung stepped in front of Jungkook, shielding him despite the chaos. Jimin wrapped his arms around Jungkook from behind, shaking but relieved, pressing his forehead into Jungkook's shoulder. Security rushed in seconds later, real security. Management. Staff. Confused but ready. The man was dragged away, screaming threats that meant nothing anymore. The studio lights steadied. The alarms faded. The danger drained out of the air, and in the sudden, heavy quiet, Jungkook turned to Yoongi. Hyung, are you leaving? Yoongi looked exhausted, but free. If they'll have me. Taehyung stepped forward first and pulled him into a rough embrace. We never stopped. Jimin joined in, voice thick. You came back to us. That's what matters. Jungkook looked at him, tears glistening. You saved me. Every time. Yoongi shook his head. You saved yourself. You chose truth. You were brave enough to face it. Jungkook's voice was soft. I wasn't alone. He reached out and all four of them came together, arms wrapping, shoulders pressing, breathing the same trembling air. The kind of embrace that only forms after surviving something meant to break them when they pulled apart. Jungkook wiped his cheeks, looking at Jimin, Taehyung, Yoongi each battered, shaken, but alive. We're done hiding, Jungkook whispered. From now on, we move together. Jimin smiled, a fragile, beautiful thing. Honestly, that's all I ever wanted. Yoongi exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for months. Then let's start again. And as they walked out of the studio, sunrise bleeding through the hallway windows, warm and nude, Jungkook felt something he hadn't felt since the nightmare began: relief, freedom. And the certainty that no matter what shadows came next, they would face them as one. The truth didn't destroy them, it united them. And for the first time in a long, terrifying journey, Jungkook knew he was safe, loved, needed, and finally, home.